Welcome to What Retirement Means to You. I'm Rebecca Powers, your host today with Jerry Means of Means Financial Group. Good to see you, Jerry.
Hi, how are you doing today, Rebecca?
Great. I love the name of your show, by the way, What Retirement Means to You, because it is literally every single person is different. So tell me some of the stories when someone comes in. What are their dreams and goals? How are they different?
So it really started as, a play on my name for the show, but it really gets to the essence of what I do every day for people. What does retirement mean to you? When they come into my office, that's one of the questions I ask. And I just, I want to see, are you wanting to work in retirement? Some people want to work in retirement. We assume that everyone wants to retire, but I call it a work optional retirement, right? So if you want to do something on the side to kind of keep you busy, that's fine. But do you want to travel? And what does traveling mean? Let's dive deeper into that. Do you want to travel to Europe twice a year, and stay for an extended time? That's something we really got to plan for.
Right. Or
is travel to you just once a year, you want to go take the grandkids to Disneyland? That's a little bit easier to plan for. So when someone says travel, I always say, elaborate on that.
Right.
And whatever they're wanting to do in retirement, I want to get more detailed. Let's talk about it. If we're going to make it happen, we really have to talk about it. I have a client that came in, and I thought this was really cool because I'm a boating guy. We have a place at Lake of the Ozarks, and that's what I like to do with my family.
Yeah.
And so they came in and they said that they were wanting to retire and sail around the world. And I've heard people say that before.
But they really meant it.
But they really meant it. And they have a 2-year plan for them to retire and actually do that. And they've already taken sailing lessons. They went to the Virgin Islands, and they do that every so often to get certified so that they know what they're doing. So we're planning for that. We're talking about how much they're going to spend on the boat and what they're going to do after they're done sailing around the world, right? It's not going to do that forever.
Right.
It's like a 5-year plan. So we broke it up into, different parts of their retirement. And so that's the kind of conversations that I like to have when someone comes in to see if they're on track.
That's incredible. And you also talk about the 3 phases of money. I've never heard any other fiduciary mention that. What is the 3 phases of money?
So I think people just assume, I'm going to put my money in the market and I'm going to let it grow. Well, when you're, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I said right.
Yeah,
they tell you to ride the roller coaster,
right,
and you're for how long? And
I can tell you, I used to be a fan of roller coasters. I'm not anymore, right? As I've gotten older, it hurts my back, right? I'm just embarrassed to say it, but just not built the way I used to be.
None of us are.
Yeah, so I don't like the roller coaster ride, and it's kind of like that for people during their working years. In their 20s and their 30s and maybe in their 40s, it's okay to ride that roller coaster. It can be nerve-wracking, but you've got time on your side.
Right, to gain it back.
Yeah, but when you're in that retirement red zone, you're within 10 years of retiring, that roller coaster can be really scary.
Yeah.
And in retirement, it can be detrimental to your total plan.
And especially these days.
Absolutely. I mean, the volatility right now is just, big swings, one way or the other. Every day is a headline, right?
Right.
And you can listen to the experts, and I read all of these fund managers, and there's 2 camps. The truth is, no one really knows.
Right.
You can listen to one that's a top talking head, let's call it, and they'll say that there's a hurricane coming, right? That to hold on, buckle down, the market's going to get rough. Then you'll have someone else saying that, they think that we're at a bottom and it's going to recover. The truth is, no one really knows.
Right.
But you have to have a plan that can address it both ways, right? That can weather those storms.
Absolutely, and that is a big part of what you do, is map out the plan. How deep do you look? Do you get all these reports from like Morningstar and all these different, how do you figure out what's best?
So we run what's called the stress test. And, and we can come back and talk about the 3 phases, but the stress test is basically we're going to input all of the data that we get from a client, and then we're going to play out different scenarios. What if we have a good market the first 10 years of your retirement, or the 10 years before your retirement? And then we're going to say, okay, what if we get a bad sequence of returns? How is that going to affect you? What can we do different to guard that? Think of it like a bowling alley. I have 4 grandkids. We take them bowling. What do you do when you take a kid bowling? You put the guardrails up, right? So it bounces all around, but it makes its way to the pins,
somewhere.
right? So what I like to do is try to help put up guardrails on my
Nice.
clients' retirement to make sure that they stay on track. We've got a little bit of play there, but we want to make sure that, you know, we're going to get to the goal.
Right. Okay. So back to the three phases of money. I'm kind of brought you off track, but what's the other two phases?
So the accumulation is those working years, but as you enter that financial red zone right before you retire, you kind of start getting into that preservation. Well, now you've earned it, right? You've hit the home run or you've won the game. You don't want to lose it now that you're right there at the threshold.
Yeah.
So you start getting more conservative and planning out your income. And then you enter the distribution phase.
Okay.
And the distribution phase can be taking income and how to strategize and make your income guaranteed for life. Or it also can be the distribution of your estate to your heirs. You know, you want to do that in the most tax efficient way and avoid probate and so forth too. So there's the accumulation, the preservation, and distribution. And what I often find is people are retired and they're still working with that accumulation advisor, someone that's just putting their money in the market. You know, over time it's going to be fine, and they're not really addressing Social Security planning, the pension planning part. You know, drawing the assets out, you know, every year for income. They're not really. You know, people will come to me and they'll say, Jerry, my advisor just doesn't talk about that.
Right.
So I try to dig in deep and go into that.
And not to bash the big boxes, but I think a lot of people, and that was my experience in my 20s and 30s with a big box, I didn't hear from them for 3, 4, 5 years. So I think what you bring to the table is that personal one-on-one. They really can call and ask, hey, should I buy a new car? I mean, no question is too small when you have a personal relationship.
Absolutely. And that's what we're going to offer today to the first 10 callers. Is if you call into the show, we're going to offer you a no cost, no obligation, on-track financial review. And if you come in, you'll meet with me personally. We'll talk about your situation, and we can do some of the stress testing and mapping out to see what your scenario looks like.
Absolutely. Stress test. I love that. We'll talk about that and more when we come back right after this.
How confident are you in your current financial plan? Do you know with certainty how the recent market volatility will affect your future hopes and dreams? How much are you paying in taxes? And how much are you losing to unnecessary high fees? You didn't work to save this money so that you could spend your time worried in retirement. Now is the time to take charge of your finances so you can feel confident about your future. Call in during the next 30 minutes of today's show only to set up an absolutely complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review that will result in your own customized written plan that we're giving away complimentary to the first 10 people who respond. We'll start with a full-blown analysis of what you already have by running a report to untangle how much you are currently paying in fees, how you're allocated for risk, and what it's costing to work with your current advisor. Next, we'll identify your goals. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you want to go? And who do you hope to go there with? Is your current financial plan set up to get you there without mishap? Let's design a roadmap to create a financial plan you can follow with confidence. Get the piece that so many people are missing from their retirement. Find out how having a written plan can make a difference to your retirement dreams. Call now to schedule your complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review today.
Thanks for staying with us on what retirement means to you. And that is the question of the day, Jerry. Everyone has a different goal, a different dream, and certainly a different life. Your on-track retirement review, that's also something that you created. Let's talk about that. Why is it so important to stay on track?
Well, if you think about it, we get in our car, we don't know where we're going. What do? We
GPS.
GPS it, right? Or I guess now we use our phones. You know, I don't know
of course.
If anyone uses the actual GPS in the car,
No.
or I use the phone because it's usually most accurate. But that's essentially what we're doing with people's retirement. They're coming in and we're going to map out and make sure that they're on track to retire when they want to retire, or to see if they're on track to retire early. You know, because sometimes people will come in and say, Jerry, we plan on retiring at age 66, but I'm really fed up at my job, you know, or, you know, the company's downsizing and I think I might be next. And I don't want to go out and start a whole new career. Can I maybe retire 2 years early? Okay, well, let's do the on-track review. Let's do this portfolio testing. Let's look at it and see if that's something that you can do. The other parts of the on-track review is basically looking at tax planning. We want to look down the road.
Very important.
And make sure, that all this hard work that we've done isn't ate up by taxes, right? So we want to see, is there any kind of tax, not tax preparation, tax planning for the future. Tax preparation is just when your accountant does your taxes, right? You show up with a stack of papers or you email them, they file your tax return for you, you don't hear from them again for 12 months.
Right.
Some tax preparers maybe work with you through the year, but most are just so busy doing tax returns that they're not looking at what else you can do in your portfolio to be more efficient. We're going to look at long-term care, longevity. What are you going to do if one of you have an illness and you have to get care for 2 or 3 years? What's that going to do to your retirement plan? So we have to look at that. We're going to look at the fees that they're paying, right?
That's a big word.
Penny saved is a penny earned, right?
Yes.
So if we can eliminate some unnecessary fees, fees are okay if you're getting value out of it, right? It's okay to pay a fee if you're getting that value, but a lot of times people don't even understand the fees they're paying. They don't even know how their advisor gets paid.
Exactly.
They'll come in for a first appointment and I'll ask, do you have a fiduciary advisor or do you have a broker? And brokers don't call themselves brokers anymore.
What do they call themselves?
Everyone kind of says financial planner, financial advisor,
see,
but the license that they
dangerous.
hold really dictates on how they get paid, and that's really the original definition. So back in the 80s, everyone said stockbroker, right? They're still around, but you just don't see that term very often. So people get
brokers,
confused.
They have different commissions
Different
because
ways that they get paid. They're more transactional.
So
but
you
really
were the big picture, the whole kind of welfare of the family.
Correct, doing the total investment retirement plan. And and I do in the first meeting, I explain to clients how I get paid. I don't charge anything for the first meeting. I don't charge anything until they become a client. But I lay it out to them and explain so that they don't go down the road and say, well, I don't even know how he gets paid. I think that's something very important that people should know.
Absolutely, and I think that the public school system in America, we have never been taught these things.
No.
Isn't it amazing?
That's a whole nother show, I think.
But I mean, it's true.
It's changed a lot since I was in school, for sure.
I think children could even understand interest rates and compounding interest and not to have credit cards because the interest rates are too high. Have you ever had someone walk in and say, oh, I wish I could retire in 10 years, and you look at everything and say, you can retire now? Like, it's good news. Let's hear some of those stories.
And that's a fun meeting, right?
Yeah.
And then I have to convince them. They're like, no, that's not possible. And it's like, and a lot of that depends on their spending habits, right? We got to do a cost analysis. I mean, I've had people come in and they've got $2 million, but they want $200,000 a year in income, right? They still want to live that same lifestyle they were when they were working, and they still want to, to draw that. Well, you do the math, 200,000 times 10 years, that's $2 million, right? Now we'll have some growth, but still we're looking at 30 years in retirement. There's a chance if they keep that spending habit that they may run out of money, so they may need to save more if they're going to want to have that income when they retire. So we have to look at strategies for that. Then I've had people come in, I had a single lady came in, she worked at a bank, and she had some investments with another advisor actually, and had some with me, which that's okay.
Sure.
And she said, I really want to retire. I hate working this job, but I just don't think I have enough. And so we looked at how much she would get in Social Security and how much she could get off the investments that, that she had with me. And then I did the review of the other advisor as well. And she was actually going to make more money and retire than she was making at the bank.
Wow.
And that's
great news.
Yeah, and she was, and this was years ago, and she's still retired. But she literally teared up, and that's a fun conversation to have, to say, to watch that weight be lifted. And she wouldn't have known that if she wouldn't have came in and did an on-track review.
That's amazing.
So.
And what are some of the tools that you use? Like to do the whole risk assessment, you call it the stress test, which I love. If you have a heartache or a heart palpitation, you go to the doctor and get an EKG and a stress test. So same thing. Instead of your health, it's your wealth.
It's the same thing. You want to test different scenarios. So people will come in, and again, the first thing that I'm looking at is that income plan, right? Because you've saved all this money in retirement. Now cash flow is king. When you retire, you want to get that cash flow. So how do you take that money you saved and turn it into a cash flow that you can't outlive? Very first thing that I address with people. Once we address that issue, we say, okay, we have this much money left over that we now can put in the market to try to grow it over time, because you're not going to need it tomorrow. If the market drops 30%, we go into a recession, you don't have to have a fire sale on your investments and sell these investments while they're down, because we've already established the income plan. So we can weather that storm. And then when we have that bucket, we want to talk about how much risk they want to take. And because I work in the retirement market, you know, most of my clients are moderate or conservative. I'm not getting a lot of aggressive investors.
Yeah.
And when I do, they kind of scare me sometimes because, you know, it's like, you know, I'm a conservative person myself by nature, conservative with my own money. And so when I work with my clients, I kind of look at it the same way.
You don't want to gamble with their money, and it's all about the pillow test, right? Sleeping well at night, and you want your clients to be able to not worry. So streams of income. You talked once about buckets. Let's talk about the different buckets of money and how you can get that stream of income every month. You know, you could pay the bills. Yeah.
So the first bucket is going to be your emergency fund, right? We used to say keep 6 months worth of bills in the emergency fund. After the pandemic, I kind of found that people are more comfortable maybe having a year's worth of money in the emergency fund. Now, you're not going to earn anything on that. I mean, you're getting next to nothing at the bank on those funds, but you can walk down the street and get it as soon as you need it. It's okay to have that emergency bucket. The second bucket, again, is that income bucket. And we're going to use things like annuities that have guarantees backed by the credit paying ability of the insurance carrier, but they're contractual, right? So you know if I put X amount of dollars in, and I want to draw it out 2 years from now, this is the minimum amount of lifetime income that I can get. You know, now, not all the products are created equal. There's not one product that's right for everyone. So again, that's why we have to have the conversation, look at what they're wanting to accomplish. But we use those types of tools. We use dividend portfolios, stock portfolios, to help kind of offset some of the volatility. We're shifting out of bonds. We're looking at other fixed asset classes. Again, annuities. I feel like I talk about annuities a lot, but they're a great tool right now. There's fixed annuities paying 4% with no risk.
That's great. So you know if it gains, you'll gain a little or a lot, but you will not lose. You'll always stay. Like if you go to a poker table and you know you'll never lose and you'll always push. I'd play all day.
Yeah, and there's stock market vehicles. There's buffer ETFs and structured notes, and it's kind of technical to get into on this show that
it's fascinating.
But you can limit your downside risk. You can say, hey, you know, I want to buffer the first 20%. I don't want to lose anything. But if it goes over that, I might, you know, if it goes over down 30%, I might have a 10% buffer there that I lose. So that's for the market money, though, not for the income money. The income bucket. So again, it just depends. Everyone's different. But I sit down and help them establish those different streams.
And when your clients come in, have you ever had anyone who thought, well, I thought I was diversified, but when you really break it all down and dissect it, you explain to them that maybe they weren't as diversified as they thought?
Oh, it happens all the time. I mean, I've had people come in and they're like, Jerry, I don't understand why I'm losing so much money in my portfolio. I told my advisor I wanted to be conservative. Well, I'll look and on the back page of some of those broker statements, it'll say, you know, this is an aggressive investment strategy, or this is a moderate investment strategy. And I'll say, well, you know, you're in an aggressive strategy, and you just told me that you're conservative. Why is that? Well, what do you mean? I thought my advisor has been changing that as I got older. I just thought he was doing that automatically. Truth is, they're in the same risk class that they were 20 years ago when they were aggressive. But the advisor was an accumulation advisor and didn't really make that transition. So you have to really keep your eye on the ball when you get closer to retirement. I
think we have to take a break in a minute, but I think that's the really big benefit from you being local, small, personal, one-on-one. You will actually meet Jerry when you call, by the way. It won't just be some random person. It will actually be him, which is wonderful. That is very different from the big box experience. That's why they weren't changing them over the decades. Yeah, and I mean, I have a team of people behind me. Oh, absolutely. You know, but I'm the advisor. I'm going to meet. They will actually meet you. They will actually meet with me when they come into the office. Or if they want to have a phone call, they will speak with me. So I'm going to offer that to the next 10 callers. If you would like your on-track review, give us a call. You can come into the office. You can sit down with me. You can tell me what retirement means to you. We can talk about the different buckets, and we can put a strategy together for you, and then we can stress test that, play what ifs, and talk about what you want your retirement to look like. And also, if you're wanting to leave money to your heirs, we can look at the estate planning part of that. And we're also going to do a tax analysis. So give us a call, and I'll be glad to help you out. To the next 10 callers, complimentary, no obligation. Absolutely, and no pressure. And there's a number, 844-878-1293. We'll be right back. We talk more about what retirement means to you.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
And thank you so much for staying with us. And you can join us every week, of course, right here and online. So retirement review, the on-track retirement review, we were talking about the buckets of money, but how everyone is different. What is the first thing that you ask them? I know what retirement means to you, I guess, but what are some of the questions they can expect?
Tell me about your family.
Okay.
Tell me about your family, where you're from, what you think you want to do when you're retired, because I think it's important not only to have a financial retirement plan, but to have a plan of what you're going to do at that time. Because once you retire, every day is a Saturday.
I love that.
And I mean, I have clients come in and they're not sure what day it is. Like, I don't really have to look at it that often, and that's fun. That's good. That'd be nice. Yeah, that's nice that'd be how it is. I always know what time it is and what day it is, right? But I want to get to know the person. A lot of times people will come into the office and the first thing that they want to do is they want to push their statements over to me, right?
Because that's what we're trained to do.
Yeah, and a lot of advisors ask for that first.
Yeah.
And to be in fairness, when I first started my career, maybe I did that too. But as it went on, I really learned that just getting to know the person and what they're wanting to do is more important. Because I can't do anything with that until I know about you and what you want to do. So when someone comes in, we'll get to that, but talk to me. What kind of questions do you have? Do you have questions about me? Because a lot of times it's, for people come into a financial planning office, they're nervous already. Right? They pull in the parking lot and like, oh, did I do the right thing by coming here? And, what's it going to be like? And, am I prepared? And I just tell people, come in and relax. We'll have a cup of coffee, a Diet Coke, a water, whatever, and we're going to get to know each other first, right, so that we're comfortable. Then we'll talk about the numbers, right? The numbers are secondary. They're important, obviously, but I want to get to know the individual. And I think that when people come in to my office, the way that we've set it up, I have Jen at the front desk. I call her the director of first impressions.
That's
right?
cute.
Because everyone loves her, So if she's not there, they're like, oh my gosh, where's Jen? Yeah, so, and then Angela, my wife, she works in the office as well, but they do a great job at greeting people and making them feel comfortable. Then I come in, we go off into the conference room, and again, we just have a conversation, That's and awesome. If there's something they want to see, I have, a big screen TV that we can look at together, because everyone, since the pandemic, you don't really want someone leaning over you, pointing to a piece of paper. So we've got it on the screen, so that we can look at it together.
Showing what you're doing and all the numbers,
I can highlight
projections.
some things. I have a whiteboard. I can draw some things out. I talk about how my practice is set up. I know the questions that they're thinking, most of the questions anyway. So I try to address all of those and lay all my cards on the table when they come in.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head when you said sitting in the parking lot feeling nervous, because I remember feeling that way at really every meeting until pretty recently, because we, as normal lay people, don't really know about finances, and we weren't taught that in schools. So it is nerve-wracking. Oh, what if I don't have enough? Oh, I'm kind of embarrassed. Or what if I was in the wrong thing? So I love that you understand that people really are nervous to talk about money.
They are, and I think some of that is maybe they've went to an advisor before and the advisor talked over their head or
Yes,
talked down to them.
that too, yes.
You know, or maybe they only directed everything to the husband and not the wife or something like that.
Yeah.
So I'm very conscious to make sure that I
Very,
get both
yeah.
spouses involved. Even if one of them says, well, you know, he handles that or she handles that. I'm like, well, I still want you in the meeting because
Right.
this really impacts you. We need to talk about it. So,
Yeah.
I try to get all of that out of the way so that when we do get to the numbers, they feel like they're talking to a friend.
That's exactly right. And it is a family. You said your wife Angela works there as well. So you've really kind of grown together, raised your kids together. You have grandkids now.
Occasionally, you might see a grandkid in the office. Full disclosure.
What about a dog? Any dogs? People like that.
I don't have any dogs in the office right now. We're thinking about it. So, but yeah, we have 4 grandkids, and occasionally
Awesome.
we help like most grandparents, we help the kids out. But we're both working in the office, so sometimes we'll have one of the kids in the back room, and you might hear some voices in there. So. But most of the time, people want to see them, and we bring them in, and so it's
They know
fun.
it's real. You're a real local family. And what about legacy? We only have 2 minutes to go, but since we're talking about grandkids, do a lot of people want to leave money to their children and grandchildren, or is that just sometimes?
It's about a 50-50, I would really say. There's people that come in and legacy is really important to them. Maybe their parents left them money and they know how easier it made their life, so they want to do the same thing for their kids. Or maybe they just want to do something nice like that or help with education. But then you'll have other people that come in, they say, hey, if I spend the last dollar the day I pass away, that's fine. I've done enough for my kids, they can do it now.
Really.
So there's no right or wrong answer.
Sure.
It's just getting to know the person and what their perspective is and what they're wanting to do. And,
But you can handle all of that. You don't have to go to all these different places. It's kind of a one-stop shop. It means financial, because you can help them with all of the different aspects, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, we do tax planning, but we don't do tax preparation.
Sure.
But if they don't have a tax preparer that they're using, we can refer them to someone that I know so that we can work together. Same thing with an attorney, right? I can't give legal advice, but people need things like durable documents and living wills and sometimes a trust. So I have an attorney that I refer them to, and that attorney will actually meet with them in my office as well.
Good. So you're all on the same team.
Yeah. So we're trying to be that one-stop shop for the most part. My wife does the health insurance for Medicare Supplement, Medicare Advantage. So when our clients get to that age, we're able to educate them and help them with that as well.
Fantastic. Well, we're out of time. Thank you all so much for being with us today. Jerry, in the last few seconds, let's just give the phone number again.
All right. So for the next 10 callers, if you give us a call, I will offer an on-track review. The number is 1-844-878-1293. Give us a call. The next 10 callers, complimentary, no-cost consultation. Thank you.
Absolutely. Easy to do. No pressure. Thank you so much, Jerry. Enjoyed it. See you next time. Thanks for joining us.